Can you hear me okay? Does my mic sound weird? Vermont maple syrup isn't as good as Canadian maple syrup. These are all examples of me mocking Grindberg. Tonight, we're mocking a redraft fantasy mock draft producer. Hit that button. Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Forecast with Grindberg and Bigz and Schultzy. I am Bigz, he is Grindberg, and Schultzy is over there. I am comfortably at home in beautiful Davis, California. Schultzy is down there in North Carolina, and Mike is not in Canada. He's escaped. We have a breach. Canadian in the U.S. Where's ICE?
Call ice.
How you guys doing?
Man, well, if you were to guess where I am, if I'm in the United States, where would I be this weekend?
Florida.
New Mexico.
Pennsylvania.
Oh, we all know. Bigz is wearing it on his hat. I'm close to Cleveland. I'm close to,
Canton, Ohio at the Fantasy Football Expo near the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
You bet. And that's brought to you by our main sponsor, Sellout Crowds. So check it out. Sellout Crowds, main sponsor of Fantasy Football Expo, but also the main sponsor of our show. So check them out.
I have a
BSL.
prediction.
What's that?
In T-minus 4 hours, you will be at Waffle House.
Oof. Not tonight, tomorrow night, because Kyle's not in town yet. So I gotta wait for Kyle because I need to have a wingman when it comes to my Waffle House, and Bigz is not going to be there this year with me, unfortunately. There's no door that can. No, man, not yet. It's on the agenda though.
I like that. I like that optimism.
Let's go, Schultzy. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm great. We just loaded up this mock draft, and I've got a guy in here with a Trevor Lawrence picture as his avatar, and I hit him with the Duval in the chat, and I got one back. I'm great.
Oh my god! Yeah, this is great. Well, this is mock draft season, and we're ready to go here. So let's get it going. But before we do, we're gonna talk about this mock draft. So it's a 12-team mock draft, redraft, one quarterback. Let's get it. But before we do that, we're going to get into some must-draft players. So players that we need to have on our team that have the dog inside them, just like Bigz does. And let's get you started, Bigz. Maybe we should roll our spotlight clips for this, just to hell. Let's just do it.
All right, here we go. We got it.
Bigz! Grindberg!
I made a new one, but
no, you didn't. Okay,
Pixar, it didn't happen.
Last year, Chris Olave was coming off of an injury that ended his 2024 season prematurely. And everybody said, oh, Chris Olave, he's got all these concussions. He's got jelly brain. He's not going to be able to get back. And then you had Spencer Rattler being named the quarterback to start the season in New Orleans. Tyler Shuck was their big draft pick, and nobody had any faith in Tyler Shuck. And then a funny thing happened on the way to Tyler Shuck's winning the Offensive Rookie of the Year over Jackson Dart. Are you kidding me? Tyler Shuck got the job because he was better than Spencer Rattler. And then what happened? And then Chris Olave finishes as wide receiver 6 in PPR. Right behind 156 targets, 100 catches, 1,163 yards, 9 touchdowns. Chris Olave is the talent that we thought he was. You look at that, except for his injury-shortened season in 2024, he has 3 seasons over 1,000 yards. He has 3 seasons over 119 targets. He has 3 seasons over 11.6 yards per catch. He has like 3 seasons with over 48 first downs. Chris Olave is for real, you guys. Do not sleep on him. He is a guy that I will not leave drafts without unless somebody snipes me.
I really like this call, Bigz. You know, there does raise some concerns at some stages about that offense, you know, when they bring in a guy like Jordan Tyson, but I'm not worried about that, especially not this year, contract year for Olave. And I think that this is a huge situation for him. And I think he's going to reap the benefits of this Kellen Moore offense that obviously feeds the ball to their primary wide receiver, Schultzy.
And well, just to the Jordan Tyson thing, number one, there's always been target competition for Olave. Alvin Kamara, when he was like running and gunning, he was getting quite a few targets. When Derek Carr was the quarterback, he was targeting tight ends quite a bit. There were a bunch of tight ends to go around. Rashid Shaheed was another one. Chris Olave is the number one guy. It doesn't matter who else is on the field. If Alvin Kamara isn't on the field for 17 games, garnering 100 targets at the running back position, that's still, I mean, even if he does, it's still not going to take a whole lot away from Chris Olave. But he's probably not going to. And we saw last year what that target differential became was 156 targets for Chris Olave. And you can expect numbers like that to hit again. Tyler Shuck has been with Olave for the better part of the 2025 season. He will have a full season with him in 2026. And then pre-show, I was talking to you about these charts that came out about second half wide receivers from the rookie class last year, and how it took them until the second half of the season, unless they had a primary role like Tetro McMillan or Emeka Buka, unless they had that primary wide receiver one role from day one, it took them the first 9 weeks to really start hitting their stride. And there's a whole handful of them. So Jordan Tyson could very well be that guy where he has a huge differential from week 9 to 18 that he did from week 1 to 8. But that's really not going to take a whole lot away from Chris Olave's season. So go ahead, Schultzy.
Well, I was going to ask Mike. Mike, you sound kind of weird. Are you recording from Ohio or something?
I am, yes.
Oh, okay. That explains that.
Is my mic sound okay?
Is it?
Yes, Bigz. The mic. He sounds okay. Yes. I'm a little bit mixed here. I was one of the guys who was concerned about the concussions, like I was. And I still think there's merit there for a guy who's had as many concussions as he's had. Like, at any point in this guy's career, he's one major concussion away from being in real trouble. But so are many players in the league, right? So, like, you can't just, like Bigz is right on that aspect. I do have a slight pushback on the Jordan Tyson stuff, because I think he's so talented. I think the talent in Jordan Tyson is a lot higher than any competition in the receiving game we've seen Chris Olave go against in New Orleans. So I think there is some merit to be had that Jordan Tyson is a very good talent coming in to take some targets. But when you look at all this, like the 156 last year, the 138, the 119, 2022, 2023, those extrapolate out to 150 when you put it out to a 16-game season. So I don't know, man. Do I think it's going to come down slightly? Yes. But on the flip side, he's garnered a crazy amount already. So, like, yeah, man, draft Chris Olave.
All right, man, let's do it. Okay, I'm moving on to my guy because we got a mock draft to hit up here. And yeah, I mean, I've talked about him a little bit on this show, I think. Do you guys remember it all? No, maybe. Yeah, a little bit. Well, he's the spark plug for me, and I think he's going to be what the Bears need. And I think, because I've been beating his drum all off season. The lead of all off season, Bigz. That versatility.
Dude, you've never talked about this guy ever. What the heck?
But he's going to be my flag plan of the year, I think. And I think that this could be a guy. Well, him and Zay Flowers, too. I think I'm pretty high on both those guys. But I think he's finishing as a top 12 wide receiver this year. And that's why I'm going to be reaching for him in certain stages. His ADP hasn't really caught up to where I think he's going to finish. And I think this whole Bears offense is going to explode in 2026. But Luther Burden especially, I think that elite efficiency as a rookie, I think screams future wide receiver one. I know his snap share didn't get up there until, the later parts of the season. Obviously, there's reasons behind that. You could say whichever way you want. I'm more of the camp that Ben Johnson wanted to slow play his guy into the lineup, and look what he did when he ended up getting some volume here. And as a full-time player, I just think that Luther Burden brings a different dynamic to that offense. I'm not saying he's the next coming of Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think they play a little bit differently, but I think he could fit into a Ben Johnson's offense in a similar way. That slot Z weapon, he's going to be ready for the volume and what he can do outside of the play, that big that big play threat. He's got that red zone upside as well. So when you stack it all up, for me, I think that he's gonna smash his ADP, and that's a bold call on my behalf, making him a top 12 wide receiver this year. And yeah, he may not get there, but that's how much I think he's going to win this year. And yeah, even if he gets wide receiver 20, that's still beating his ADP. So if he gets top 12, that's a huge hit for me, and I'm taking that any day of the week. So I'm going to try and get him in this draft.
So in your segment, you said beating, explosion, and coming, and Ohio has changed you. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to color your analysis real quickly with some statistics. So we talked about this pre-show. Receiving yards per team pass attempt. Over the first half of the season, Luther Burden was at 0.76. Second half of the season, 1.66, which was the second highest differential in all of the rookie class. 1.66 yards, receiving yards per team pass attempt. And then in targets per route run, it didn't really change. He had 24.2 or 24.7% the first half of the season, 25% even in the second half of the season. So something happened. He was receiving the same target share or targets per route run. Maybe he ran more routes, but he was seeing the same target per route run. And then in his target share, he increased from 6.8% to 18.1% of target share over the second half of the season, which is the highest differential in the NFL, 11.3%. So if there are signs to a huge Luther Burden breakout coming, those are them.
Thanks, Bigz. I appreciate that, man. All right, Schultzy. Should we run your clip because we missed mine? Let's do it.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about some hours. Honestly, if you want to go ahead and just start this mock over here while I'm talking, the people are clamoring for it.
Okay.
What is there to say about Brock Bowers? We saw 153 targets the rookie season with 112 catches, almost 1,200 yards. The knee injury slowed the man down last year. I don't understand why the ADP sits at mid-second round right now. This is pretty crazy. If you can get him at the tail end of the first and early second, like he's the perfect candidate for a late round back end. You take your back end first round pick, get him in the early second. And this feels absolutely criminal, an absolute steal, right? When you look at his rookie year, especially for how tough it is for tight ends to transition into the NFL. And then what this guy did instantly. Okay, people are down on him because we saw a lot of a bit of a dip last year because of the knee injury. That's nothing. He's back. He's healthy. We've got a coaching staff that knows how to utilize playmakers. Clint Kubiak, what did he say about him? Where's my note here? Oh, a football robot from heaven is what he called Brock Bowers. And when you look at what Clint Kubiak did with JSN and how he just hyper-targeted the crap out of JSN, he knows what he's got on the field. And when you look at the receiving core over in Seattle last year, he knew who was the prime talent. And he was the prime talent by a wide margin over anybody else catching passes in that offense. And when you look at the Vegas offense this year, it's the same dang thing. Brock, honestly, it's probably more. It is more of a discrepancy. The talent gap between Brock Bowers and the next pass catcher on that offense is silly. There are two absolutely talented pieces on this offense: Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty. Both of them are going to eat all year long. because who else are you giving the ball to? I mean, it's not like a huge knock on the other dudes, but there's just not a ton of target competition. Jalen Naylor's probably going to have some of his, right? Like he's going to have a decent year. But when you look at the coaching staff last year talking about how they were going to try and set the reception record for a tight end with this guy, like when you hear what coaches say about Brock Bowers, you better believe him. Like coaches don't go out here and intentionally try and set records with dudes for no reason, because they knew last year what this dude was. And you'd be silly to think that Clint Kubiak doesn't understand the same thing, but understand it even better.
Right.
So I am expecting an absolutely hyper-targeted season for Brock Bowers, like historical target share stuff coming here. Just draft the crap out of him, man. The ADP is stupid right now.
Yeah, it's not like the rate. Okay, we give the Raiders wide receiver core short shrift. Trey Tucker, I called a third-year breakout last year. He finishes wide receiver 38, which is just short of what a breakout is. I had him in the top 36. He just came up short of that. There were a lot of offensive line and Geno Smith issues. He should have had a better season. He did not. He is coming into a situation this year that looks a little bit better, more protection from the offensive line. Trey Tucker should show up in the top 36 by the end of the season. And then Fernando Mendoza signed his rookie contract today, and the rookies reported for training camp. There are other players that are veterans that showed up to the first day of rookie training camp. It just gives them more reps over their competition coming in. And Dante Thornton was one of those guys. Probable ex-receiver. Maybe he's the wind sprints champion, but he's 6'5". He runs a 4.3 just as fast as Trey Tucker, who's 5'8". He should be on the outside all season long, especially if he's getting this early work in with the new quarterbacks, Kirk Cousins and Fernando Mendoza. And then Jalen Naylor is like, he fits the prototype of what a Fernando Mendoza wide receiver does. So there are some pieces that are potentially there, but it's Brock Bowers, bro. Sprain your thumb drafting him every single time.
There is.
It's the contested catch. It's the make you miss after the catch. It's the bulldoze you after the catch. It's the circus catch. This guy does everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And his yak is so good. You can see how his knee hampered him last year. If you look at the receiving long, he had a long of 57 in his rookie season, a long of 38. It's basically like a 20-yard difference between his longest reception of the season. That's all yak. And that's Brock Bowers not being able to separate from guys because his knee was bothering him. His yards per target was pretty much the same. Yards per game went down a little bit. That was a result of the offense. But yeah, he is Brock Bowers. He is him.
All right, let's bring out the maple syrup and roll this sticky pad out, the sleeper board, and let's get this mock draft rolling, Schultzy.
Speaking of maple syrup, we just got in the store maple syrup made by Buffalo Trace. It's basically maple syrup they sourced and then aged in Buffalo Trace empty barrels. I'm excited to put some on my pancakes.
Pancake it up. All right, we are starting the draft right now, and I've got to get this ringer out of my ears.
Or on my pan perdu. What is that, Mike?
Pan perdu. Pan perdu. It's a bread.
What kind of bread, Mike?
Of like, I don't know, maybe a pear.
French toast, Mike.
No, that's French toast.
Yeah, pan perdu.
Oh, interesting. All right. Let's talk about your first pick here on the board. They're Bigz. You're going to be on the clock right away. You're middle of the pack. Why did you pick this spot for one?
There was no reason. So in the Battle of the Sexes, I'm at the 12. In Scott Fishbowl, I'm at the 12. I'm tired of drafting from the 12. I did it in all our mocks before. So I wanted to not do that again.
Yeah. Oh, Genty, I like the call here. So you got him aggressively ranked here. He's the RB3 in your eyes here, Bigz, this year, headed into 2026. Is that just a homerism, or that's you like pumping your chest out saying, hey, this is Genty's year?
That's a flag plant right there. I have no problem drafting him in the top half of the first round. I think that's where his talent lies. I think last year the team betrayed him, and this year is going to be a much better environment for him to succeed, and he's going to live up to his potential.
All right, Schultzy, in your take here, what's your philosophy right now? You got the 110. You obviously picked that early, so you have a certain strategy pegged out here.
Well, I mean, I just was looking for a slot to draft Bowers in the second round, to be honest.
Do it, Mike. Do it. Do the double tap. Oh, no, he didn't do it.
He's got one more. Hey, he didn't do it.
No, he didn't do it.
I didn't. And I think that, especially this year, you really got to come out of the gate swinging with double running back, unless you go with Bowers on the churn here. I think that the running back position dries up so quickly, especially in the mid of the third round. I'm gonna anticipate by 307, the likes of like Javonte Williams are already gone. Kyron Williams are already gone. So I'm going to see what happens here. Like, I mean, I think tight end and running back are going to dry up, especially out of the top guys outside of the third round here. So that would be my take. And I think it's important to come out of the gate with at least one top tier running back out of the gate.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. I think workhorse running backs are coming back. And we're looking at like 10 of them who are really solid, and you got a handful more who are questionable at like what kind of role. They may take a workhorse role, but it's not like guaranteed. If you get locked down 2 of these guys who you feel very solid about being workhorse backs, I love that strategy.
Yeah, I like the comment in the chat. Value drop. What do you say? Great value falling. I can see that with Chase Brown, Jeremiah Love, maybe. AJ Brown in the second isn't too bad. George Pickens, I don't know about.
Chase Brown was a huge slide. I mean,
he was my pick, except that I went McBride. I wanted to lock
I would take Chase Brown over the 3 running backs ahead of him.
Oh yeah, I'm taking Chase Brown over every running back ahead of him outside of like the top 5, I think, or 6. So I'd say Bijan, Gibbs, Genty, McCaffrey, Cook, all my guys. After Achane, I'm taking Chase Brown.
I was considering Brees there.
See, I called it. I called it here, and I bet you Javonte is coming right off the board right away. Like, it's just it dries up so fast. So I think that, the strategy here, folks, is just you got to start power hungry, either an elite, tight end like Bigz and Schultzy did, both out of the gate here. They got their top end running back and then a huge tight end, or like myself, where I double tap running back. And I think that's going to give us the edge headed into this year when you see how just a lot of these wide receivers look really good around this range now too. So liking what I'm seeing here, absolutely.
And I think I'm going to look out at either ETN or Javonte tail end of the third round here.
Now, Mike, in the Battle of the Sexes,
it's
Scott Fishbowl scoring, but it's best ball. And I went against your analysis and redraft, and I took Nico Collins. I was looking at Nico Collins' pre-draft or per game numbers, and I'm really happy that I was able to grab him. I think if he can stay on the field for the entire season, he's really going to put up some numbers. I know Jaden Higgins came on in the second half last season because Collins was gone, but I'm really, really high on him this year.
Yeah, I mean, I could see where you're coming from. I just don't see the volume being there this year. I love Nico Collins, but like I mentioned in our show last week, is like wide receiver 7 for me. That's his absolute ceiling, and I see this team being a little bit more slower paced, especially out of the gate. getting, David Montgomery accustomed to that offense. So I just see this being a slower paced game flow. And I think their defense is going to, win games for them so that their offense isn't going to have to run plays at the level. So when you look at Nico Collins, look at all the guys that went ahead of him. So he's clearly being faded in redraft scenarios right now. And, Fantasy Pros at the time last week had him at ADP 7 in wide receivers.
Well, he went wide receiver 11. So how do you like those apple pancakes with maple syrup?
That is more along the price tag I would be willing to pay for him. You know what I'm saying? But wide receiver 7 is a fade for me in this range.
Sorry. I like the Garrett Wilson pick from Schultzy, the Luther Burden, Colston Loveland.
I was going to bring that up.
In redraft, I really, really don't like taking pass catchers from the same team. I feel like it eats into each of their, like, if Luther Burden has a huge game, what's that going to do for Colston Loveland kind of thing? Maybe you can reflect on that a little bit, Schultzy.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, like, what was the strategy behind taking both pass catchers on the same offense, essentially? Because I feel the same way, that you're limiting each other's ceiling a little bit there.
Yeah, I think more for me is like, okay, I didn't think Loveland would be there at that stage, so I saw the value there, and I wanted to get my guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, Luther Burden wasn't coming back to me outside of those ranges, so I wanted to get my guy based off of this draft. Like, I'm taking Zay Flowers over Luther Burden and redraft right now, like 10 out of 10 times. But I still feel like this is a stage where he could excel in. And yeah, I mean, it's not the optimal build there, but hey, I mean, if both those guys go off the way they did at the end of last year, and Roma Dunze's ankle injury is actually relevant, and he's not getting the 100 targets that he's being projected to, and maybe that bumps up Luther Burden a bit. That's huge for Luther. So I don't mind that stack there. And I mean, we'll see what happens when it comes around. But I think trying to get pass catchers in a potent offense, which I think the Bears are going to be a top 5 scoring offense this year. So why wouldn't I want to get shares of that, just like I want to get shares of the Jags? But I think it's going to be a little bit more concentrated with the Bears offense. So that's why I'm okay taking that. And I saw what those guys did in a concentrated, section of last year. So yeah, I'm confident with that. And I'm okay with it.
I really like how QB Chris 21 just recovered from taking Bucky Irving and got Jadarian Price. I think he's going to have a big year. We talked about that on the Dynasty Pulse last week. And the fact that Quinshon Judkins went after Bashal Tutin is just wild to me. I don't understand that. And also, you can tell just looking at the first 3 rounds, this is not an ESPN redraft draft. This is people who know what they're doing, understand quarterback values, and understand how to build a team before taking a quarterback. Because all 5 of these quarterbacks that have gone at this point, they're gone in the first 3 rounds on ESPN.
I mean, and that's just what our viewers need to know. Like, this draft is full of a bunch of sharks. So if we're waiting this long in a ESPN redraft league, you're literally able to wait quite a bit of time here. There's a sweet spot of quarterbacks, and it's after this flow here. You could probably get a Justin Herbert in the 12th. Even Joe Burrow is getting floated into like the 7th and 8th round. So I mean, you could see some values here, and you could wait a little bit for sure. I mean, I got the QB2 last year overall in this at the 512. So it's a little bit earlier than I wanted to take Drake May, but I think that he's destined for a really big season here with the additions of AJ Brown and Romeo Doubs, and I think that this is going to be a good situation there, and they're going to be able to take it on. So yeah, love the Drake May value here. And yeah, as the quarterbacks come off the board, there will be a little bit of a run. All right, Schultzy, talk to me about Jaden Daniels' pick.
Let's move that draft board down.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's do that. Yeah, same thing. I just felt like the value was pretty solid here. And when I was looking at, I felt solid about the fact that I was sitting on 2 strong running backs, 2 strong wide receivers, and elite tight end. I felt like Jaden Daniels was just a value here. I think we're in for a bounce back from the second season here. And when I was looking at who I was drafting potentially at the wide receiver position, I don't know, man. I just felt like I was just going to nail one of these top quarterbacks who I felt like was going to bounce back, rush a lot, and be potentially a top 5 quarterback. And I feel good about that possibility rather than pretty much the 5 wide receivers after that got drafted. Like, you can poke a hole in any of those guys, right? So I don't know. I just felt like Jaden Daniels was a safe play with a lot of upside.
Yeah. I'm really starting to like Mad Dog's build here. If you look down the board here, Jamar Chase, and Chase Brown, such a good value at the 210 in my opinion. Kyron Williams on the way back, Tyler Warren, a solid. He's kind of on his own island there as the tight end 4 when there's a huge gap between 5 and 8 right now. I think that this is a great build. Marv coming back. I think we talked about it on our shows over the last little while, how we think that his, year 3 is going to look a lot better. Maybe not, live up to the expectations that he was drafted to be. And then Mekhi Lemon. I just really like this pick too. I think that this could be a really good situation for him. And there's nothing saying that Devonta Smith is going to be the Greek god in that offense, right? I mean, Lemon's got a little bit more bulk on him, so they could be using him more in the middle of the field in this new offensive scheme. So I think this is a good dart throw at this stage of the game. So I'm really liking Mad Dog's build. What do you guys think about his build?
Yeah, it's a solid team right there. I don't necessarily like in the same way we talked about with the Bears there. He led off with Chase and Brown, which I know they play different positions, but I'm not the biggest fan of my first 2 picks playing on the same team.
Yeah, that's and that's where things get complicated there, right? So, Schultzy, break down a little bit about your Garrett Wilson, Mike Evans, situation here, and where you think Mike Evans' potential is in 2026, because I think he could be a top 12 wide receiver for sure.
Oh, I mean, the moment he signed over there, I was in on this. I was in on Mike Evans the moment he signed in San Francisco. I understand. Like last year,
we have breaking news. Schultzy just drafted a Jaguar.
Boom. So I don't know. So Mike Evans, Mr. 1,000-yard himself. This is a legitimate Hall of Famer. Like we throw that out a lot, right? But we say Hall of Fame talent a lot, right? And that's a fair thing we say about a lot of guys. But Mike Evans is a legitimate first ballot Hall of Famer. Okay. Like that's the quality, the caliber of player we're talking about here. And we just threw him into an offense that we expect to score 30 points a game. The math is second grade level there, right? I don't know, man.
Second grade level math. I love it. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Parker Washington, though, I think is in a situation here where he's going to smash this year, regardless of where he goes. His ADP is just so worthy as the wide receiver 1 for the Jags this year. And I mean, look at this offense. If we think that, Trevor Lawrence is going to bring a top 10 offense, if not a top 5 offense, then what are we doing here with Trevor, with Parker Washington going as the 7-10? You know what I mean? I knew he wouldn't get to me. Like
This was the 6th ranked scoring offense in the NFL last year on an offense who didn't figure themselves out until week 10 or 11, right? Took half the season to figure out what the heck they were doing, finished as the 6th ranked scoring offense. Sky's the limit here, and the fact that our wide receiver 1 is drafted in the 7th round is bananas.
Whether you're new here or you've been around the block, we encourage you to like, subscribe, hit the bell, go to Sellout Crowds, download the app, join Fantasy Sports Advice Network as a pro member, and be granted all of the benefits. I did want to shout out, I wanted to plug us before I shouted out. I watched the first couple episodes of this new show on a terrible network, but it's called World's Dumbest, with these A, B, and C list celebrities, and they're like having to do like trivia and knowledge questions and logic games and stuff like that. And just to see how Ice-T reacts to John Heater, who played Napoleon Dynamite, he just laughs at him and he's like, he's totally Napoleon Dynamite. He's totally Napoleon Dynamite. And then like John Heater tickles him and he's like, I ain't let no man tickle me ever. But he can't. And it's Jojo Siwa is like smarter than Dr. Drew. It's crazy. So World's Dumbest, check it out.
World's Dumbest. Let's go. Good plug, Bigz. Not a sponsor, but yeah. Hey, if you're interested,
that's why I had to plug
reach
up.
out. Reach out. Reach out. All right, man. I love it. I love it. Great plug there. So now the Slims are getting down to the pickings, and not the George Pickens, but the actual Pickens here. And what's your strategy down these last 4 rounds here? As you know, the players start drying up. Your lineup is kind of set at this stage. You're looking at kickers. You're looking at defense. What's your guys? I mean, okay, so that's a strategy. Like, I mean, there's a couple guys that you may want to look at as a kicker that might be a difference maker, right? So
I'm not looking at kickers. I'm not looking at kickers. I'm looking at kicker.
Yeah, Cam Little.
Well, yeah, like I mean, you're looking at a kicker. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a certain kicker, and why don't you divulge his name there, Bigz?
I will always overdraft Aubrey.
Yes, I mean Aubrey is. Yeah, I mean he's probably going in a range where he could be like a difference maker for sure. Yeah.
Okay, I'm the Jags homer. I get it, but where's the Cam Little love? Because this is the man who holds the NFL record for longest field goal, and he plays on an offense who's probably going to score more than the Cowboys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but they're also not going to get stopped as much in important areas, right? You know what I mean?
No, you're right. That's 100% a completely valid point.
I don't not like Cam Little. I just got him in my Madden franchise, and in the same game, kicked 67, 68, and 70-yard field goals with him. I love Cam Little. He's a Razorback, woo pig suey, but Brandon Aubrey is the one that consistently gives the fantasy points every year and is worth overdrafting.
It's fair. I just had Michael Pittman. I just had to say it.
Oh shoot, Michael Pittman.
Oh shoot. Or as my late grandma would say, oh Shaw.
Good job, Grandma.
God bless her. Never spoke a swear word in her life.
Gma, welcome to the hood. All right, Schultzy, what's your next pick here?
I don't know, to be honest. I wanted Chris Godwin. I wanted Michael Pittman. I wanted Jaden Reed. You know what? I'm taking Jake Ferguson. I have a tight end, but we're talking about athleticism. We're talking about playing in a good offense. We're talking about paired with an elite quarterback. Oh, shoot. I drafted Jake Ferguson. I was thinking Terrence Ferguson over here. Look at me go. I still like Jake Ferguson. Let's pivot. We're talking about an offense that's going to score a ton, though, right? And Jake Ferguson has been a red zone machine. So you can't argue with that.
Right. I like it. Yeah. I mean, I think this is where tight ends need to start flying off the board here, because we're seeing wide receivers dry up, and I think these guys can certainly keep up in even in non-tight end premium leagues with the likes of, you know, the wide receivers still on the board, like Romeo Dobbs. Josh Downs might be a guy that I'd be considering right now if I'm in your shoes right now, Schultzy. that would be kind of if I were to go to wide receiver.
Yeah, I feel like oh shoot, I missed him. Yeah, I was looking for him and I got auto picked. I feel like right where I took Ferguson was where the wide receiver cliff happened. Because I was planning on taking receiver there, and then that run of those 3 guys went, and then I was kind of stuck. But yeah, and I saw Ferguson, and my brain just instantly wants to Terrence Ferguson, and I saw some upside there. And when we're talking late in drafts, like that's what you're shooting for. And since I started talking about him, dude, the Terrence Ferguson the path to upside is completely there. Hyper athletic dude on a good offense with a great quarterback, like I mentioned. So I don't know where he's going to fall in this draft, but that's another dude who I'm going to be all over in redraft.
So you might want to point out, I just took the first kicker and I took him in the 10th round. So I went through and I was looking at Brandon Aubrey over the last 3 years has had 176, 185, and 180 points. I was looking at the point totals of the most prolific guys in this draft range, and he was ahead of all of them. So I'm points maxing right now with Brandon Aubrey, and not trying to rely on, Dalton Kincaid is going to get more points than he's had ever in his career. Or Aaron Jones is going to have more points than he's had in the last couple of years.
All right. So, Schultzy, give us your take here, because this is where the defenses start coming in. When are you considering taking defenses? Like,
I'm not.
Like, you're not. So, like, are you? It's kind of like your last pick type scenario.
100%. Typically, my last 2 rounds are kicker defense. I will stream the crap out of defense. Typically, you can find a defense on waiver wires who's got the matchup who isn't going to tank you, right? And that's all that matters when defense. Like, you cannot predict defenses scoring touchdowns, which is what tips fantasy performances for defense. But the only thing you can reliably predict is sacks, which does help. So when you can nail the one defense who's going to go sack the crap out of the quarterback all year, that helps. That's about the only predictive metric we can get here. Like I said, the defensive touchdowns and special team scoring is what really tips the scales week to week for defenses. So I'm inclined to just wait and just play it as it goes throughout the year, as the year goes on.
And I am also in that camp. I usually stream kickers, defenses. I used to stream tight ends, but tight end pool is too rich now. I drafted Brandon Aubrey for the content, because when I do take a kicker, I take him, and I take him in the range of who scores points the way he does. But in a typical ESPN redraft setting, I wouldn't have taken him I wouldn't have taken a kicker until the last couple of rounds.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fair at this stage, but you're kind of just showing our viewers kind of like, this is a scope here. Like, Brandon Aubrey is a player that I'd be willing to take a little bit earlier than most because of that differential he could make as a kicker on your squad. So yeah, I like the call there, Bigz. So
I do also want to talk real quick about the quarterbacks that are available right now in the 13th round. We still have Baker Mayfield on the board, who's primed for a big comeback year. Tyler Shuck, if you believe in him. Kyler Murray, maybe you want to have a go at that. And then Cam Ward is still available. We're looking for a big year 2 from him. So keep in mind that there will always be quarterback value even this late in the draft.
You have it. Yeah, absolutely. And yes, this app is dog shit. Thanks, Mad Dog, for all right. I bumped the clock up because it's the last round, and we're 45 minutes into a show here, and it's important that we covered it all. And I think this is a great scope of where you're kind of looking at your first 14, 15 rounds of a redraft league. Now, Bigz, maybe give one sleeper that you picked and Schultzy before we, wrap up the show here. You picked a guy late, Pat Bryant. Why don't you talk a little bit about him?
Well, I picked two guys. So I keep mentioning our conversation pre-draft. There were some metrics that came out today that I read off when I was talking about Luther Burden. And two of the guys that were the highest in those metrics as far as rookie wide receivers from last year's class that had huge second halves, Jaden Higgins and Pat Bryant. So I made sure that I got those two guys towards the end of the draft, because if there's any indication of success in fantasy for a second-year wide receiver, it's how they did in the second half of their season the year before.
Love it. I think this is a great call here. Now, Schultzy, you got a late round gem that you wanted to highlight maybe for viewers?
Sure. Let's talk about Stefon Diggs, man. I don't understand why this guy is being drafted in the 12th round. I understand he doesn't have a team at the moment, but that's going to change. Yeah. We've got a guy who has put up prolific numbers for many years in the NFL with several, with different teams, with different quarterbacks. We have watched this guy produce, right? He tears his ACL. He comes back at 30 years old. 1,000 yards off the ACL, and now we're ready to sign him to another team. The only reason we are drafting him in the 12th round is because he doesn't have a team. So if you're drafting before he's signed, get on that price.
You have it. All right.
I do want to address something that Schultzy brought up about sacks being sticky. Over the last 4 seasons, the Houston Texans have had 39, 46, 49, and 47 sacks. So, and then in the double digits of forced fumbles, at least 14 interceptions. The only team that's been close has been Seattle. So if you're going to take a defense, take one of those two or just stream.
Right. It's you can kind of go into each season like, in the 2010s, you knew those Broncos defense were just going to absolutely get after the quarterback year after year. You can kind of guess year in and year out which defenses will pick up the sacks, will pick up some turnovers. So if you can get one of those, great. But like I said, if not, just roll the dice, because the defensive turnovers, or I'm sorry, the defensive touchdowns and the special teams touchdowns may fall your way while you're streaming, and that's what really turns a week.
Right. And what you're looking for when you're streaming is you want league average points per week. So you're looking for matchups. So you're looking for, say, a team like Jacksonville to be going into Cleveland. You're looking for something like that. And there was quite a bit of data. There were a bunch of studies that were done over the long term, and this applied to tight ends earlier. It no longer applies to tight ends, but it still applies to defenses and kickers. Basically, if you're streaming and you're going for matchups, you can hit higher than median numbers every week just by based on matchups, rather than trying to rely on one static spot in your lineup. So ESPN, that's where we do the PPR redraft stuff for the most part. And when I talk on the show, that's where I'm getting my information from, is those drafts. Those are public drafts. More people play ESPN PPR fantasy football than any other platform, any other style. So those are the people that I'm speaking to. And your best bet is always, so ESPN will force you. Sleeper, you don't have to take a kicker or a defense. You can fill out your lineup and then cut people after camp and stuff like that. ESPN will make you draft those positions. So unless you do something where you're taking a Brandon Aubrey, a Cam Little, Seahawks, Texans, unless you're doing that, wait until your last 2 picks to draft those positions.
Love it. All right, Bigz, take us home, man. We did a full mock draft. We did some flag plants, but tell
everybody. You need
everybody,
a ride from Canton? I can come out there.
Please come. Home? Yeah, no, get your ass out here, man. Let's go.
ETA Sunday.
Okay. Well, you'll be on the Dynasty panel with me. Let's go.
Late Sunday. Thank you guys for watching. Again, like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that stuff. Check out fantasysportsadvice.com. The merch store is really, really great. Go to Sellout Crowds. Download it. Get in the communities. Start talking the talk that you like to talk. And Fantasy Sports Advice Network. We help you win.
folks. Okay, well, we'll see you next week, everybody. And
Have fun at the expo, Mike.
brother, appreciate it, guys.